Welcome to Business Coaching Secrets with Karl Bryan. If you want to attract new high-end coaching clients, fill live events, and build a wildly profitable coaching practice where business owners pay, stay, and refer, you've come to the right place. In this podcast, Karl provides his keys to the kingdom for finding and signing high-paying clients and building the coaching business of your dreams. Here we go.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, coaches around the world, welcome to another episode of Business Coaching Secrets. It's your boy, the Road Dog, with none other than the man, the myth, the 4.5-foot legend himself, looking dapper, looking tanned after a beautiful experience in Mexico. Dr. Karl Bryan is in the house. Doctor, welcome to the show.
Not a doctor. Shoot. Okay, Road Dog, do you want to hear what I heard? 10 might be an exaggeration, but 5 all day long. Do you know what I heard?
What's up?
You're taller than I thought you'd be.
Yeah, there you go. There it is. I'm like, the Road Dog effect. It's happening, folks. I love it. I love it.
That's true.
Listen, bud, it's because you had those lift shoes on. This is it. You're deceiving people with wearing, like, they're not even looking at your feet, realizing that you're adding a solid 6 inches with those shoes.
You wish, bud. How you doing, Shoot? What's going on?
I'm good, buddy. I'm good. Hey, listen, real quick. We mentioned briefly in the pre-show, and I wanted to get into it, but I'm like, nope, I'm saving it for the podcast.
Nice.
80-20. We talk about 80-20 so much, right? Like, it's crazy how many people, oh yeah, 80, and everyone talks like they know it and they're doing it, which we both know is not the fact. Like, what do you actually think? Like, the percentage of people and businesses, business coaches actually know what the 20% of the activities are that are the highest income producing?
Sorry, what's the question? What percentage do? What's the question?
Yeah,
Sorry,
like, what do you think? Like,
it's very high. Look, it's one of those things, Road Dog, where I think everybody's heard it, so they think they know it. But I would challenge everybody, if you're not doing it, you don't know it. You know what I mean? So everybody knows outsourcing, but show me that what you've outsourced. Another one I was talking about at the live event in Cancun is everybody knows they should hire people smarter than themselves, right? So 101, show me how many people you have working for you that you can legitimately say are smarter than you. It's and not just us as in the business coaching fraternity, but let's go to our coaching, the chiropractor, the dentist, butcher, baker, candlestick maker, go to them and like, how many of them have hired people that are legitimately smarter than them? And it's, so they know it, but they're not doing it. So I say that you don't know it if you don't do it. So there you go. So very few, shoot.
But it isn't that sort of how it is, though, Bud, like in terms of what business coaches do. It's not like we're bringing them like these, brand new ideas that they've never even heard of. We're actually just holding them accountable to putting them into place. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah. Look, like, yes. But look, straight from my opening in Cancun. So another one, but like sometimes these throwaway lines, quite frankly, I think the names of the books are incredibly, I'm going to use the word dangerous, which might be a little bit of an exaggeration, but in my opening, I was talking about systems set you free, right? Systems stifle creativity. That's what systems do, right? So an example, like if you're selling ice cream and you're hiring 12-year-olds, you got to systematize a way. And of course, there's a threshold of how much they should systematize. But if you want to hire professionals, and by the way, I apologize, we might have talked about this last week, can't remember. But if you want to hire professionals and you over systematize, you are about to lose them, because professionals do not want, they want to be able to use their creativity, be able to use their imagination. They want to work autonomously. People support things they help create. They want to help you create the company, but in a non, Road Dog. Imagine, Road Dog, if, you were told what to do, consistently throughout the day, and your day was just filled with, filling out spreadsheets and whatnot of, things that you were doing. You'd go with your personality, you'd literally go bananas, right? So we would lose you as a staff member if we over systematize. So if you want a business that has legacy or lives beyond yourself, you will have to hire professionals, and professionals are people, let's assume, like as smart as you, very smart guys are smarter than you. They're not going to want to be told what to do on a consistent basis. It just won't work. So Road Dogg, it's not only, you know what I mean? Like, I think if you didn't, if you just took System Set You Free and went, yeah, hey, that's right. I mean, it can be very, very careful with what you assume to be true. What do you believe that is categorically incorrect? There's a quote. I'm trying to think of it, and I don't think I'm going to be able to, but it's something to the effect of, the real dangers of the world are not things you don't know, but it's the things that you know. It's the things that you think to be true that really, really get you into trouble. Just one more, Road Dogg. It's the more they pay, the more they pay attention, right? And it's just it's got an element of truth to it, but it needs context. And I can tell you that is categorically untrue. It's a little bit self-serving from the influencers of the world and the guy with the Lambos and the Rolls Royces and the airplanes that they pose beside and don't own, don't lease, couldn't afford to get in, trying to convince you of XYZ on your Facebook profile. So what do you think? But you see what I mean? Like, you got to be really careful with what you know to be true. And throwaway lines like that, like System Set You Free. I mean, System Set You Free, to a large degree, it comes from Michael Gerber. And look, he wrote a great book. There's no question. The E-Myth, right? I've heard, Tony Robbins has recommended. A lot of the greats have recommended that you read the E-Myth. But truthfully, Michael Gerber has never built a real company. And the advice that he gives in the book is that you should be able to have a business, go away for 12 months, come back, and have it to be bigger and thriving. And Road Dogg, that's just, give me a break, right? Like,
but hang on though, Carl. I'll challenge you on this one, because a little bit, and it's because I think most people are so chaotic and random that any sort of a structured system or framework, it's no different than the structure you have at Focused, right? Focused.com. If I came in and I just followed your system and I didn't question it, I didn't try to recreate parts of it to make them, just followed it until I got to a certain level, there's a system that in fact would set me free because it's a structure that's already there.
Yep. Okay. So there's a threat. So we agree that let's just use a scale of 1 to 10. So could we agree that if you come in, you use the system verbatim, 1, 2, 3, ABC, and then you hit a certain level of success. And let's say that the systemization on a scale of 1 to 10 is we go up until, level 7. But from level 7 above, like, you've gone in, you're like a digital marketer, right? And then somebody else is owning a networking group and then balancing this on top. Another guy is an accountant or used to be an accountant or loves accounting, and then he's taking a slightly different angle. You see the way? Use the framework to get to X. And then if you're a legit business coach consultant, you want to put your own salt on this thing, right? You want to spice it up.
Well, that's how you scale, right? That's that when you can truly put your personality and your gifts behind it, that's when you're truly going to start attracting your tribe, whatever, insert catchy phrase there, whatever you want. But the one thing I just wanted to say was, you talked about, we're totally rambling here. I love it. But you talked about the losing things before learning new things. How many people do you think actually honestly do an honest assessment of the facts, of the stories that they tell themselves and the beliefs that they hold true, which in fact aren't true? That if they just dropped some of those, they'd be 10 times better off than learning the new iOS 14 Facebook ads update. You know what I mean? Like, would you not agree with that?
100%. It's limiting. That's where you go to Tony Robbins, and a huge part of the entire thing is dropping your limiting beliefs. Like, what's the stories you've been telling yourself that have been holding you back? And it's like, and you don't even realize they're there, right? Like, I'm disorganized as an example. I can tell you, I used to tell, like, when I thought about writing an email every day, honestly, I was like, there's just no way. And it's not that I can't write an email every day. It's just, I've got a pretty good understanding as to the, you know what I mean, the discipline required in order to do that. But what's happened by doing it, I've effectively created a bit of a system that I follow. But within that system, I clearly throw in my own, you know what I mean? I built the system for myself. But again, it's a different joke every day. It's in, you know what I mean? Like, yesterday and then it's speaking of, and then it's the joke, and then it's another news and probably something motivational, and then it's anywho, and then it's one profit acceleration thing, and then it's something, you know what I mean? Like it's created, like I've created the framework for it. But again, a framework is only good as a framework. And again, I'm going to say that gets you to level 7, and then the salt and the paprika and the, what other seasoning you want to put on top of it takes you up above. So like our company is so systematized, it's crazy. But again, we're not crazy enough to think that we're going to bring in a 7-figure coach and have them follow our system verbatim without, falling off a log, without deviating. And by the way, some will, but that's the anomaly, to be clear. Just high-level professionals want to do their own thing, the end, drop the mic, and you've got to provide provision for it. So
there you go. Love it. I could ramble on this topic for hours, but it's anyways. Listen, just to on that vein though, we've been really just sort of going back and forth last couple of weeks in terms of almost like a fill in the blank, if you will, and in terms of some of, I guess, your beliefs, and I wouldn't mind diving a little bit deeper into that. Wow. Anywho, you would think I was in Mexico drinking for a week. No. Oh boy, here we go. Anyways, the one of the things you always talk about is the power of one distinction, and I'm just wondering if we can, what you think and say about that.
Okay. So look, power of one distinction. Then what do I say? Is that it?
Yeah, like what? I thought we played this game for 2 weeks. Do I need to do the rules for you again? Or how's it working?
Dude, I've had a long week, man. I can't think. Okay. Power of one distinction. Warren Buffett, again, I've said this, and I apologize if we've said this too many times over the last number of weeks, whatever that is, but Warren Buffett reads all day. Why? He's not taking like a training course on, buying companies. What he's doing is he's looking for an insight. He's looking for that, that 1% that bring, 1% of the planet own 50% of the watches. That's not my opinion. That's a universal principle. To be very close to, correct. He's looking for that one thing. So when you say one distinction, okay. Literally, I was, meeting this morning. I'm staying in Cancun for a better part of a week, and we're strategizing on this year and what we're doing and what we're putting in place, etc. So poker is an example I was giving like literally an hour and a half ago. You played poker, and then a guy, look, my dad grew up, my dad's a professional gambler, grew up, he's playing poker. My dad used to play poker in basements with the door locked so the police didn't come in, right? Like that's the way it was back then. It's illegal. Well, then somebody came up with the idea of putting 2 pieces of perspex or glass, let's call it, right, on top of the table. What happened? Well, somebody put a camera underneath, and it became a sport played on TV or watched on TV. Took poker, like that one distinction changed everything. The World Series of Poker, if you ever seen it, I mean, to say that it's a massive, you know what I mean? Like it's massive would be an understatement. Well, the person who came up with the idea of 2 pieces of glass on a table that no one had thought of prior to him changed everything. So, and where that came from, we were talking about doing, we'd do a live event and we get to meet everybody. We had 138 people this year. In total with our group. By the way, not everybody could make it because we had COVID, and then we had the hurricane in Florida, and then we had a couple of other issues. Bottom line, though, we had, we had over 100 people here, and it was awesome. And you get to meet people and shake hands, and in some cases have a beer, in other cases it's have breakfast, and have lunch, and then have dinner, and then, Billy Dixon, one of our legendary staff, he's there doing salsa, and everybody's everybody's watching him and his wife, and it's just cool. You can't manufacture something that you can't do that over Zoom, the end, right? So we were talking about doing some meet and greets, and I'm like, look, we do one in New York, we do one in, let's just call it Vegas and call that the center of the country, and then we do one in LA, and we get to meet everybody, and people internationally will fly in. And just what Pat said to me, we were doing this meeting, and he just said, and we were talking about exactly this, right? Not exactly this, but Warren Buffett and, the insights and whatnot. And he goes, Warren Buffett is not looking for a meet and greet. Like Warren Buffett would not classify meet and greet as a one distinction. And I was just like, oh my God, it was so good. Like in the moment, you had to be there in context, but like it was like, you're so right. And that doesn't mean that we're not going to do the meet and greets and that it's not a really, really good idea, but it's just not the equivalent of thinking of putting two pieces of perspex, two pieces of plexiglass on a table and taking it to the moon. So that would be, I think that would be a really good example of what you're looking for. Look, here's something else we talked about. Like when we're looking, like staff, we've got lots of staff, 35. We're going to be growing that out, tremendously over the coming periods, you know what I mean? Months, quarter, year, and years. I like to surround myself. Look, I believe that the best entrepreneurs have one thing. I think that one thing really separates the people that really kill it in business, and that's conscientiousness. If you look at a Zucker, and I'm not like you're looking at a Zuckerberg, you're looking at a Gates, you're looking at Jobs, you'll find that their attention to detail types and conscientiousness. So anyway, so conscientiousness, I like to surround myself with conscientiousness. So I think that understanding that I think is really powerful. I also think that culture equals rules. So culture, just if you want to have culture, culture is like fresh air, right? Like you can see it, you know that it's there, but you can't grab it. If you want to have good culture, and that's part of these meetings that we were having, you got to have rules. When you lose a good staff member, they'll say, I'm not really sure what was expected of me. That's what they'll say with ridiculous predictability. So culture equals rules. Here's something that I didn't say in our seminar and that I wanted to. We've covered it at different times, Road Dogg, on this. But okay, so BlackBerry, Road Dogg, you and I both love the BlackBerry. A lot of people love the BlackBerry. You love the keyboard. If you're listening to this, there's a really good chance you fought like I did and like Road Dogg did to keep your BlackBerry. Because you were like, forget this. I don't want an iPhone, man. That thing's just too complicated. I need the key. You wanted the keyboard, right? So you think that most people think the iPhone killed the BlackBerry, and that is categorically incorrect. The App Store killed the BlackBerry, right? Like you're addicted to checking the weather. You're addicted to the calculator. Maybe it's the flashlight. It's a bad example, but like clicking Facebook, which is an app. You're addicted to the apps. You checking your stock prices. Maybe it's surfing the internet, which again, you click a button and all of a sudden that pops up. So that you're addicted to the App Store. Let's put it that way. The equivalent, Steve Jobs worked for Atari back in the day. You weren't addicted to Atari. You were addicted to Pac-Man. You were addicted to Donkey Kong. You were addicted to Centipede. It was like the games that were addictive, not Atari. So the iPhone is Atari. And then Donkey Kong and Pac-Man are the apps that you're, using multiple times per day. I think that's, in business, what is Warren Buffett wants something he can buy for a penny, sell for $1, and that's habit forming. I'll let you decide if your iPhone is habit forming. I literally had a thing last night, Road Dogg. I was here and in Cancun and, beautiful view and blah, blah, blah. I'm just chilling out by myself. I'm just like, I need Karl time. And I'm looking out into the water, trying to chill. I just totally lost my train of thought.
Oh, I love you so much. It's amazing. You're. It's so good. I was
going to say something really, really intentional, like smart, and then I was like building up to it, and then I don't know. Shapes. There you go. Look, Power One. Look, let me just say this: DoorDash did 1 million Big Mac. Like one distinction, DoorDash gave away 1 million Big Macs through its app. And then what happened? People wanted to get the Big Macs. What did they have to do to get it? They had to download DoorDash from the App Store, coincidentally. And McDonald's, had 1 million customers that got. Does McDonald's want to see you doing delivery? Answer's yes. Does DoorDash want you to be delivering or downloading its app and getting on your phone? The answer is yes. So it's win-win for both of them, but it worked unbelievably well. I think campaign like that, insanely powerful. But shoots, I can't think of it. But there you go.
Listen, you know what's beautiful? every single listener right there got a glimpse into what your wife is just like. That's how she feels. It's like it's just a great buildup of like what you're gonna do on this vacation, and it's just a ginormous like, oh, I forgot. It's beautiful. It was just a beautiful moment. Hey, by the way, speaking of clever, I believe it was Burger King that did a geofencing sort of thing where if you had their app on their phone, they knew if you were what was it? If you're about to pull into a McDonald's, where you would get alerts saying, "Are you sure?" Or they give you like a deal on a Whopper or something like that. Like super smart, and then a directions to their drive-through. Like, are you kidding me? Like, how brilliant is that? So there you go.
That shoots. I'm gonna agree with you about that.
The other thing I just want to say that when you talk video games, I always think about this, and I kind of think it's a valuable thing for anybody that is building a bit of an experience, or has something where their customers, their clients need to learn something. And this is something that I learned from my buddy Dan Martell, from his SaaS Academy, and that is when you're playing a video game, the first level that you play, it's easy, right? But what is the actual point of the first level? The point of the first level is to teach you how to play the game, right? So you figure out which buttons do what and everything else. So it's like you've gamified, you're making that user experience something that they want to do, that is fun to do, but at the same time teaching them how to use your video game or whatever it is as an example. So I thought that's pretty dang cool. And I'd never looked at it like that before. So now it's funny how I look at that. Like when you first get your iPhone and you turn it on, right? It says hello in all these different languages, and it runs you through a sequence, which is sort of teaching you how to use the phone. It's brilliant, right?
But also, okay, shoots, yeah, 100%, and I agree with you that there's insane power in that. But they do one. There's the weather is a real obvious app, right? Like who's not going to check the weather, right? So it's already preloaded. The calculator already preloaded. Like they've already got apps that are already preloaded. So that's like the level one, because you don't need Facebook, right? But they teach you how to, like, you click the weather, and you find yourself doing it once a day. All of a sudden, geez, I want to make it easier for me to get onto Facebook. Do you know what I mean? Like you're learning how to use apps. So they've got that defaulted on there. So there you go, Shoots.
What the other interesting thing, depending on your industry and what you're following too, because I'm about to ask you about trends, and we did talk about that a little bit already. But just when it comes to trends, it's like in the App Store, what's trending, right? I think it's just super useful to know what's trending, like what is happening in your industry, in your business, with other businesses. Trends are super important. Do you want to expand on trends for a second?
Yeah. Trends. So just, again, I think so you could be the dumbest person on the planet 3 years ago, from recording, you invest in Bitcoin and you just couldn't have gone wrong. And you could have accepted it in your company, couldn't gone wrong. Hence Tesla did that, and then they retracted. But you know what I mean? Like you know what I mean? You're killing it. So that's an example of a trend. The way that I explain it, if I'm teaching, like, training on it or teaching it, is that think of a wave. Like I'm a bad surfer, but I tell you, like, you give me a good wave and I can actually look like I know what I'm doing. But if there is no wave, Kelly Slater, world champion, I think 10 years in a row, like Michael Jordan of surfing, without a wave, he looks like a seal in the middle of the water. You know what I mean? So you need a wave. Think of the industry as the wave. And then the templated example, apologies, we've used it before, but we'll use it again, anti-aging. You could be like, I know somebody who started an anti-aging clinic. It's a number of years ago now, but like she had no business experience whatsoever. To say that she crushed it would be understatement of the year. She had 3 locations in almost no time. And look, smart gal, worked very hard, created some great, partnerships and whatnot. But at the end of the day, nobody knew what Botox was, and then all of a sudden people were getting it, you know what I mean, every 6 months, whatever. And aging population, again, that's a wave. So, when you're thinking about your clients, You should be thinking about going into industries where you can't miss, right? Like no matter how bad you look, you don't want a desperate client. You want to, the easiest way to have a successful coaching company is to have successful clients, right? Like I want to pour gasoline on success. I don't want to have to, build somebody up from the ground zero only. And of course, we do all of the above at focus.com. But the reality, if I had to bet my life on a relationship, I'm absolutely going to the guy who's successful and just pouring gasoline on it. So there you go. And I think maybe trend and financial statements that Road Dog, that might also, like when you say trends, not sure if that's what you meant, but let's cover that as well, that there's trends in relationships on a financial document. You got to have three things: comparables, trends, relationships. We teach this in our 4-day course, which we're about to do again. Little plug, 4 days on how to read financial statements. To say that it's lights out would be understatement of the year. We're actually going to provide coaching this time. We're going to provide a coaching call on the balance sheet. We're going to one-to-one, then a coaching call on the income statement, then a coaching call on the cash flow statement. But this is a topic that we're just near and dear to our hearts, and it's the fact that it's making such an impact. But so if you can picture comparables, standing on the scale is like, let's just say you're 200 pounds. My question is, were you 180 6 months ago, or were you 240 6 months ago? So I can't tell you how you're doing unless I have a comparable with your weight. That makes sense, right? So I can't tell you how good your company's doing if I look at your financial statement from, this month, this quarter, this year, without looking at last quarter, last month, last year, right? So number one is, don't look at financial statements without comparables, and your accountant will not provide comparables. They'll just provide this year, this quarter, mistake. And then if I have, 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022, from left to right, just go revenues. Anybody top line revenue, right? Go from left to right, and you're going to see a trend. Is it going up? Is it going down? Is it staying stagnant? Okay, so hopefully your rent, is it going up? Is it going down? Is it staying stagnant, right? You could just left to right. Hopefully it's pretty obvious. You're just looking at the different itemized areas of your financial documents, and left to right, you're looking for trends. Are they going up? Are they going down? And obviously you're looking for a trend of, the good stuff going up and the bad stuff going down. General nuances, of course, but just use your common sense. And then there's relationships, by the way. So there's trends, right? I want to know the trends within your company. Is the trend that Road Dog, you hire people and then lose them in 90 days? Is the trend that you hire people and then they stay for a decade because you treat them properly? Like one of the things that I got this comment when we were in Cancun, like our staff, like Adrian and I have been business partners for 13 years. Chris Kling has been with us for 10 years. Big Al, he's at 11. Danny's been my bookkeeper, one-to-one bookkeeper. She's like my right arm. We're at 11 years with her. Craig McLean, our CTO, he's been with me for 14 years, like a little brother. And I could look. Wait, I'm not. So, and lots of my top sales guys, Scott Walker, legend, played for the Pittsburgh Pirates. Don't hold that against him. I can't say that without saying the follow-up. Again, he's been with me, I don't know, I think it's 10 years. It's been 8 all day long. I'm pretty sure it's been 10, then it might be as many as 11. But anyways, the trend is that you come work with us. And one of the things that I will tell you when I interview you, I'm not interested in hiring you for 3 months, 6 months. So if you see us as basically work experience to go to Google or to go to, some other company, no, thank you. If you're going to come to work here, you're going to be treated properly. You're going to be looked after. And the expectation is that you're going to become part of the inner sanctum. Like we flew all of our guys to Cancun, the thank yous and the hugs and all that sort of stuff, including, from Kenya and from all over the world. Not trying to pat myself on the back. Hopefully that didn't sound like that, but there is a trend where we bring people on and we keep them for a very long period of time. So trends, Road Dog, I think, look, what we talk about it here. We talked about it on the pre-show, like you and I privately, right? Where it's not the behavior. The next level of thinking is the pattern behind the behavior, right? Like, so, if you're upsetting your wife, your wife's upsetting you, or you're upsetting your kids are upsetting you. Don't look at the behavior in the moment. Look at the pattern behind the behavior. It's next level thinking. Look, and then of course do that with your business, do that with your coaching clients. I think there's insane power in that, Shoots. But trends, trends are your friends, as they say. That you want to know why certain individuals like look, Amazon. You talk trend. How does Amazon become $1 trillion company? When they started, you were scared to put your credit card into the computer, and now you're scared to give your credit card over the phone, right? So like the trend is that you buy things online so much more comfortably, and Amazon got started prior, and then it became a trend. Facebook, right? Social, there was MySpace, but let's face it, that was a bit of a joke. But at the end of the day, there is a one distinction between MySpace and Facebook. Can't think of it, but that's okay. At the end of the day, like social networking and whatnot, it really wasn't a thing. Facebook came along, and now, you know what I mean? There's Instagram and all the others. So that is a trend. Fractional ownership, by the way, is, I wrote an article, Bitcoin and business coaches, or what Bitcoin means to business coaches, or something to that effect. If you Google my name and then Bitcoin, you'll see an article pop up. It's from I don't even know how long ago, but 5, 6, 7 years ago. And I was explaining it. It was a hot topic, but it wasn't that hot for sure. But at the end of the day, I explained that the whole article was about blockchain. So what am I getting at? A trend is going to be blockchain, fractional ownership, artificial intelligence. Absolutely, positively. You could be the stupidest man on the planet, stupidest gal on the planet, get into artificial intelligence, and that might be tough. If you're really stupid, artificial intelligence might not be for you. It's pretty complicated. But that being said, if you go into artificial intelligence right now, what you would learn would be insane. Without going into it, artificial intelligence is something that to say we're talking about would be an understatement. But see, artificial intelligence, Road Dog, is, again, this isn't today's meeting, but yesterday's meeting, what I was explaining, like machine learning. Okay, so artificial intelligence without machine learning. The difference, real quick, Road Dog? If I build artificial intelligence to basically gauge your behavior, think Netflix. Netflix would be a good example. Okay, I think. Now, so you go to rent a movie and you click E.T., right, from back in the day. Great movie. My favorite childhood movie, E.T., right? Once I go E.T., and then I go another movie, and then another movie, and then another movie. Artificial intelligence will never be stupider than it was before I rented E.T., because every time I rent a movie, it tells me something about me, and then the machine learns. So now it's going to get better at predicting the types of movies that I will want to watch. The same way that when I go and buy books on Amazon, if I never bought a book on Amazon, it has no machine learning, hasn't kicked in. It's got no intelligence. But then it gets a little bit of intelligence, a little bit of intelligence, a little bit of intelligence. And once I've rented 100 movies, and 100 shows, and then I've watched them, and then I've watched 10 seconds turned off, 10 minutes turned off, got halfway through a movie, turned it off, and didn't come back. This is all going into the machine learning, so it gets smarter and smarter and smarter with data, right? So what am I saying? Trend. So artificial intelligence, machine learning. If you go into these types of things, and again, you have a child, are you going to get them to open up a restaurant? Does the world need another restaurant? Does Warren Buffett, it's like my meet and greet, right? Like Warren Buffett going to hear meet and greet and go, oh my gosh, this is the next level of thinking. No, right? Not. So does the world need another restaurant? I would dare say not. If you've got a child and you like the idea of them earning more money than they could ever spend, I'd be sending them into machine learning, blockchain, artificial intelligence, etc. But look, we've got business coaches on here. Let's make sure. So the companies that I want to coach, the way that I'm talking, again, Chet Holmes taught this back in the day. That's where I learned it. But it's one thing to talk about, like the Road Dog. We're talking about your company and we go market dominating position, compelling offer, upsell, downsell, cross-sell, creating some additional products and services, right? That's one level of thing. That's one level. You're like, oh, wow, this is really, really good stuff. But if I start talking high level concepts like we're doing now, with trends, comparables, relationships, artificial intelligence, the importance of trends, and how you could be the stupidest person on the planet and invested in Bitcoin 3 years ago. I don't care how dumb you were, you made a lot of money, provided you were smart enough to exit, took some cash off the table, which good chance you weren't. But that's next level. I just find that people they'll buy your coaching at 100 times the speed when they feel like you are a go-to of industry knowledge, as opposed to, you know what I mean? Just knowing X's and O's about the specific business. Don't know if I did a good job of explaining that, but hopefully you picked it up. What do you think, Road Dog? That's what I'd say about Trent.
I think I'm going to create my own new game, and it's going to be called the Rabbit Hole Timer, and I'm going to see how deep and long each rabbit hole that you go down is. So
Did that happen? Did I just do that? There you go.
That was amazing. That was one of the deeper ones that you've gone down. We're also going to start Business Coaching Mastery Bingo with Anywho, Butcher, Baker, Candlestick Maker. They're all going to be on the board. This is just next level. Anywho is another one. There you go. Shoots is another one. All right. So as I continue and I digress, I just wanted to, you talked about AI, two quick points on AI. It's no different than when I get in my car, I start my car, depending on the day of the week, it knows where I'm going. My phone will vibrate and tell me maps suggesting, oh, it's Tuesday. You are heading to the curling club. This is how long it's going to take you to get there. Right? Nice. It's the same thing. And it's only going to get smarter and smarter the more I repeat my own patterns, right? Like we're talking about patterns. And now to bring AI back down to reality, it's no different. AI is going to suck at first, just like you as a business coach, right? You're going to suck, but you're going to get better and better and better. So get out and start doing your events. How is that for a turnaround, bud? You like that?
You just told them they all going to suck, Shoots.
Well, look, hey man, anybody starting anything new, you're going to suck. Like that's it. It's funny because I was thinking about this last night again with my my own coaching for, my daughter's soccer team. It's amazing how much I've already learned, right? And again, I continue to learn. And how I keep relating it to everything else, right? Like, how can I relate this to my business? Where's the lessons of coaching 12-year-old girls soccer, of the fine line of how can I show them the patience, if you will, but at the same time also teach them the lesson. You know what I mean? Like, it's always a fine line, and it's the same as coaches, right? Like we've got a fine line of being really understanding and everything else, but there comes a point where like, wow, this is just sounding like excuses. You just need to get to work, and then becoming a bit of a disciplinarian at that point, right? Wouldn't you say that there's a fine line there, Carl?
100%, and again, they got to be able to, like what you just defined, what you just said to me, is like your brain works like artificial intelligence. Like it's got machine learning, right? Like the more that you go play soccer, the more that you coach soccer, you're learning more, you're plugging in more examples. It's like your brain's got this algorithm. That's unreal. I've never thought about it that way, but it's unreal, Shoots. But I got to be able to turn it around though to action, right? Again, all this knowledge, all this understanding. If you don't pick up the phone, if you don't send out the message, if you don't do the lumpy mail and a direct mail piece, if you don't build the relationship with the accountant, you don't go to the networking group, you don't run the Facebook ad, you don't send the private message, you don't put your ad on, whatever platform you choose to, right? But like, every town, like you've got a local newspaper, I don't know, run a classified ad and see what happens. Look, are you going to get magic? No. Are you going to if you get 3 clients a year through it? And then, by the way, it sometimes doesn't come direct, but it comes through a referral. What you'll find is when you start advertising works for a few ways. One is defense, Okay. In that, you are the top realtor. You want your existing clients to make sure they keep using you. So, think about it, the branding, but it's really, it's defense. It's for reaching out, reaching people directly. But a big part of advertising, if done properly, the referrals, it's like, I like the number of people that will say, but my wife saw the ad and then she pointed it to me. My wife saw the ad, she clicked on the link and then emailed, private messaged, texted it to me. That happens all the time. So, get some ads out there. But if you got, what did I say, 3 clients a year through classified ads in the local newspaper, like 3 clients, if you charge 24 grand a year, do the math, right?
My thing, Carl, as well, is, are you willing to look dumb? Like, are you willing to just take a chance? It doesn't matter. Your first ads are going to suck, right? They're going to be terrible, but you're going to get better. Each one, you're going to learn something and then get better as a result of it. And just to give, I guess, the permission, right? Like, working inside of an 8-figure marketing agency, they still fail, right? These guys charge monthly retainers of $12,500 a month US, and they still lose more clients than they keep, right? So they have to be out there recruiting and everything else, but they're getting better as they go along. So it's just one of those things. Like, anyways, that's kind of my point here is, right? Like, are you willing to look dumb? Like, when's the last time I strung up a soccer net? It's been, geez, I can't even remember. And I had to go and do it this weekend. I'm literally looking on YouTube. I'm like, which end is up and which end is down? And I still got it backwards. But you know what? That's okay, because now I know how to do it. I was willing to look dumb. So put the ego aside, be willing to look dumb, take the action that you must take, and then start building your own trends.
When I presented in Cancun shoots on my PowerPoint, I had a quote: you have dreams to pursue, not people to impress. Let's go.
There you go, bud. There you go. You know what? I dream of the day that I see you put one of my quotes up on the board one day. It's going to be magical. Like, it will be the game changer that I've been looking for. And I swear to God, if focus.com, one of these days, I'm just going to start plugging my stuff. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be truly amazing. Anyways, on that note, why don't you close us out with one thing? We're already at the top of the hour here, Shoots. We got to wrap this puppy up. We got to get people out and about and going and getting clients and serving and helping business owners. What's one thing that they can take from today?
What's one thing? So here's what's in my head. I don't know if this is the best, but I don't know. So, Carl, I just got these words ringing. Carl, Warren Buffett wouldn't be impressed by a meet and greet or that idea, right? Although doesn't mean we're not going to do them, but it just means that that's not the insight. Remember, like there's moments like the perspex, the plexiglass, the glass on top of a poker table that are monumental. I think as a business coach, like there's one relationship. There's one accountant, there's one promotional company, there's one staff member. Remember, the acid test for a salesperson for you is they can bring you a client within a week through their own existing network, right? So like an example is the person that I would hire as a salesperson, like the gal that sold memberships at the chamber and made 30 grand a year for a decade, I would hire her and pay her 45 grand a year when she's no longer there, and like have her contact all the people that bought memberships from her over the last 10 years. And do you think you might get a few clients? And do you think she might be worth 40 grand? And then what a Road Dog, what do they say? Look, that's a great idea, right? Oh my God, I know that. That's a great idea. I'm not quite ready, but I'm going to do it. But right? Reasons come first, answers come second. Just hire her and then watch what happens, or him for that matter. Just hire them and watch what happens. You'll lift your game immediately. So I don't know, Shoots, because I we're going to be careful, talk Warren Buffett and Elon Musk and Zuckerberg, like we're not there. You know what I mean? Like if you're listening to this, you're just not, Zuckerberg ain't listening to Road Dogg and I give you the red hot tip, right? We all know that. But it's like, how did, like, understanding that how they got there was, again, one distinction, just some moments. If you watch the movie Social Network, you'll see all kinds of, different moments, like when they went from the Facebook to Facebook. With our company, right? We went from LPW to fakefocus.com. I was having actually dinner I had a moment, Road Dogg. This is a good one, eating dinner. And there was a guy there. He's a pastor. But he said to me, he said, "Oh, are you with Focused?" Right. And by the way, he wasn't thinking that, I owned the company. He was just thinking that I was like a business coach ripping around, and I didn't fill in the gap for him. And I didn't, the conversation didn't make any sense for me to tell, but I was just like, yeah. But what I felt was like, oh man, like that. It was a bit of a moment. Let's put it that way. And by the way, he said focus.com. He didn't say focused, very importantly. So the insight, saying Zuckerberg, like if you see in the movie The Social Network, which sadly I've watched more times than I'm going to admit here, and I've also done the same with the movie The Founder, the McDonald's Ray Kroc story. Again, there's so many little business lessons that if you didn't watch it with the Road Dogg, like Road Dogg, you said earlier, you're coaching your daughter in soccer, and you can't help but relate it back to guiding business owners because it's become who you are, right? It's like it's your identity. I always say, in fact, I said this in Cancun, that business coaching is not something you do. Like it does you, kind of thing, in that it's in your soul, not in your head. If it's in your head, it's probably not right for you. And that's not to mean that it might be in your head today, but ultimately it goes to your soul. And many of us are lucky enough that, it started kind of in our soul, and it's just something, it's who we are. It's part of my identity. So there's so many business lessons. Real quick, Facebook, if you watch the movie, The Social Network, you'll see where he went from the Facebook to Facebook. You'll also see where he came up with the idea of relationship status. He jumped up and ran home. You'll also see where he came up with the idea of tagging friends on pictures. Boom, it's right there. And they don't say it explicitly in the movie. You got to be like Road Dogg. You got to be watching it with one eye on I encourage you to watch these movies, The Social Network, Founder, and there's so many others, and maybe watch it once for entertainment, but watch it second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, 10th, trying to learn something. Because believe me, there are lessons throughout. If you read the book, The Everything Store, the Amazon, it's just like, oh my gosh. Made in America, the story of Walmart and Sam Walton. Look, it's like a business degree, right? You watch, and then there's the book, The University of Berkshire Hathaway. Like, Road Dogg, what you could learn in that one book, like you and I have talked about it, right? Like you read a book, and at the end of it, it looks like the book's gone to war, where there's post-it notes and underlined and highlighted. And it's just, and look, are you ever going to go back and visit that stuff? The answer is maybe. But I'll tell you that you got an 80% better chance of retaining information if you're actively involved. So what that means is, if you read a book and you underline stuff, you highlight it, take it from the book and then write it into a note on your, an Evernote or a note on your phone, you get a significantly better chance of getting it so that it hits. You know what I mean? Like you actually remember it and live it. Yeah, please, Shoots, please.
I was just going to say, here's, as KB puts it, folks, here's a red hot tip. Here's the little red arrow. You are here. Listen, if you are doing exactly what Karl is saying right there, one of the number one questions I get as a digital marketer, I don't know what to put out for content. Why not share your journey? Why not document what you are currently learning? What do they say, Karl? It's one thing to hear something, it's another to write it down. But if you truly want to learn something, you have to teach it. So why not teach it to your audience?
Yep. Boom, Shoots. It's my daily email. Like it's like me learning. It's my personal journal, right? Like I'm learning, right? Yeah, I love it, Shoots. That's
your personal journal with Dangerous Dave. I love it. You wanted to know, folks, what's inside the mind of Karl Bryan? His name is Dangerous Dave. Anywho, on that note, you good? Any other closing zingers? Or am I good to wrap this puppy up?
You know what? I was just going to go through some lessons learned to founder, but you know what? And we've talked about it at different times, so that maybe they've heard it. There's just a lot of business lessons in the movie Founder. Maybe we can go over those next time. But that's like I watched that movie, and like my wife, like literally, she's like, "How could you watch those? You've watched the movie 50 times, right?" Like she's like, "How could you possibly want to watch it again?" Because I'm not watching. You know what I mean? Like I'm trying. Ray Kroc was a pretty successful business guy. You may or may not think he was the most ethical. You might think he was totally unethical. The truth is that it's somewhere in the middle. With the story, he definitely did some things that crossed the line, and then he also did some wonderful things, and he was an incredible philanthropist, right? But look, here's what I said in the business coaching master. You're just talking about Grant Cardone. And I was like, guys, have you really like watching Undercover Billionaire? For everybody listening, this is homework that I'm going to encourage. Do it at your peril. Watch Grant Cardone in Undercover Billionaire, and just watch what he does. And remember, the goal was to build a $1 million company in 90 days. He built a $5.5 million company in 90 days, right? Like to think that like this is bloody good idea for a coach trying to make it all work. But the thing is, Road Dogg, what they think is, look, I can't stand Grant Cardone, so they don't watch it. And I'm like, there's things about Zuckerberg that I'm not in favor of. There's things about Bill Gates that I'm not in favor of. There's things about Jeff Bezos that I'm not in favor of. There's things people think about Warren Buffett, Road Dogg. You and I both know this, right? As a grandpa and the biggest sweetheart. I'll give you the red hot tip. Warren Buffett in business is about the furthest thing in the world from the friendly grandpa, right? Like if social media and whatnot was around back in the day, Warren Buffett might not be Warren Buffett, and he'd probably be significantly richer, but what he wouldn't be is the absolute sweetheart, the same way that Steve Jobs is not known as like, the biggest sweetheart. And again, there's things that Steve Jobs did that I don't think are, the right course for me. But the thing, and I put Steve Jobs right up there from a business sense as the greats of the greats of the greats of the great. Steve Jobs, if you were to say, what have you learned from him? I can say it in a sentence that I've said about 12 times in the last 3 days as I do some internal strategizing. And that's great companies are built. Oh, shoot. Look, great companies are built off the back of great products. That's the bottom line, right? So don't try to build great company, build great products and you will build a great company accidentally. Grant Cardone, Road Dogg, I got off on a tangent there, but because you don't like Grant Cardone, to then think that you're not going to study Grant Cardone and by the way, God bless you, whichever direction you choose. But I choose to study anybody who's a billionaire. I'm going to listen to what the heck they have to say, but that doesn't mean I'm going to take, like, again, system sets you free. The other bit of horrible advice that a billionaire will give you, not Grant Cardone, but a lot of the others that have made it, they'll tell you to do what you're passionate about. And you know what's terrible, bloody advice is to do what you're passionate about, because I used to own a hockey rink and I love hockey more than, most for sure. And I couldn't stand the game for a significant period of time while I owned it, right? So doing what you love is a good way to start hating what you love. The solution is fall in love with what you do. Fall in love with the marketing, fall in love with the sales process, fall in love with your staff, fall in love with the new initiatives, fall in love with reading, fall in love with the industry, fall in love with your relationships, fall in love with your clients, fall in love with your clients' results, fall in love with the group program that you create in and around XYZ. Like, you know what I mean? Like, fall in love with what you do as opposed to do what you love. Different frame, follow, Road Dogg, like, agree?
Yeah, I think it was Simon Sinek that said, he said the same sort of thing. It's like passion. It's like the dumbest thing ever. It's like the super successful people that can go out and say it, but the rest of us are like, man, like I'm more worried about paying my bills than, like, oh, follow your passion. Like, what? So, and that's when he just said passion, like profit, is a byproduct.
Yeah.
So I would, right, of the work, of doing the work.
Yeah. Love it.
So,
I love it, Shoots. There you go. There. So this would be like rabbit hole should be the headline of this one, Shoots.
If we were to do it, there it is, bud. It's truly amazing. But all right, before I open the door to any more rabbit holes, thanks for tuning into another episode of Business Coaching Secrets with the King of the Caribbean. I got to think of some new ones for next week. That's my homework. King Karl himself. And if you're not on the inside getting access to the pre-show, or you aren't getting Karl's daily emails, you want to learn more about the group coaching software, you want to learn more about how to systemize your business, go to focused.com and subscribe today. And of course, if you enjoyed the podcast, please leave a review. Please share it with anybody that you think it'd be relevant to. And as always, folks, that is it for another week. And like I always like to end it, remember, progress equals happiness. Take care, everybody.
Karl Bryan built Profit Acceleration Software 2.0 to train business coaches how to find any small business owner more than $100,000 in 45 minutes without them spending an extra dollar on marketing or advertising. This becomes a business coach's superpower. So as a business coach, you'll never again have to worry about working with business owners that can't afford your high-end coaching fees. Check us out at focused.com.